Limpopo faces a very deep problem of unemployment. If we sincerely about caring about the people of South Africa, surely we must be all consumed about addressing this issue of unemployment. That's the first. The second is, I think the prospect for change in Limpopo is quite good, noting the politics that are taking place. But in the light of all of that, we have a really strong, I think we've got a very good leadership in the province. I think we've got a lot of issues that we're trying to fight and face up against as an opposition party, which we believe we would be best equipped to address in government. And so I think for us as a party, of course we launched our last year's manifesto here in Limpopo, and we felt a surge of momentum come through that. This gives us a really great opportunity for us to respond to it and then take it on even more. So I think, when I look at Limpopo, I think our opportunities here are really good, and that's why it was helpful for me to come here. I'm also here on Wednesday, Saturday, we launch our Vision 2029, so I think it's going to be great to engage everybody here a few days before we launch our vision.
Okay. How have you been received in Polokwane especially?
Well, all of my previous visits have been exceptional, really. I've loved being in Polokwane. We had a great event there, looking at the challenges of Polokwane. There again, people look at issues and they say, well, who can assist them? And often they want to talk to us as the DA. When I was on the way here, there's a housing establishment not far from here. They're calling for us. That wasn't part of the schedule. Now we have to accommodate that along the way. So for me, it's just people I've had enough. I've had enough of corruption. I've had enough of ineffective government, empty promises. They want change. The other thing that for me has been very, very positive is that every time I've come here, whether it's been to Tsanin or in different parts of Limpopo, we've been able to speak to South Africans from all walks. That's for me one of the most vital things. I mean, as leader of the DA, there are two projects that really excite me. It's the idea of speaking about youth, young people and unemployed, and about their future. And then secondly, how do we build a non-racial South Africa? There's hoekom is baie besig om mee Afrikaans te vind. Dis al.
Dit is al baie goed.
Ja, ek probeer maar net. So I must make sure that we build a South Africa more. Because I think one of the mistakes that apartheid taught us was that as human beings we are different. That's what apartheid fundamentally did to the people of this country. It said, if you are white, you are better. If you are black, you are less. And you are different. You don't care about the same things. In fact, black people must think about other things while white people think about other things. When you recognize that we can come together and all of us care about the fact that we want our kids to grow up in this country, we want a society that is fair, we want job opportunities. Whether you are black, white, Indian or colored, that's what you want.
And when you start speaking to people, you actually realize
You see.
we want the same thing in life.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, you start to recognize the fact that there is only one race, and it's the human race,
Yes.
rather than this idea. And so I think if we can really speak to South Africans who share that, who say, yes, let's accept we have a history that is difficult. There are still structural inequalities amongst races. I understand that. But I think if all of us understood that together, we would say, look, even I as a white South African feel it necessary that the school in a rural township that doesn't have textbooks, that's also my problem.
Yeah.
It's not to say those are black kids, those South African kids, we must all make sure that those textbooks are delivered, whatever the case might be. And I think we've got to invite that integrated, non-racial society, so that together we can build a prosperous economy. You know, one of the things when I came here, I come to Limpopo a fair bit of time. I came to address Agri-Limpopo here. And when I was here, to speak to farmers, yes, the majority of them were in fact white in the room, so I accept that. It's a history. That's where we come from. But I can't simply say that skill must disappear somewhere because it's based on one race. I must be able to say, look, let's together build farms that can provide food for the people of this country, that can create an inclusive economy, that together we can build a South Africa for all. I think that's an inviting message, not an exclusive message, an inviting one. So I don't buy this nonsense with other political parties who say, oh, honeymoon for white people is over, or that if you are black, you must vote for that party, and if you are white, you must vote for that party. I think that's nonsense. I think it's dangerous, in fact. I think what we've got to do is say, how do we together build a South Africa?
See, traditionally, Limpopo has been an ANC stronghold province. And like you've mentioned now, we had a textbook scandal almost. The province was under administration in a couple of years. Is it a challenging province for the DA to make inroads in?
It is,
Have you
look.
got a plan going forward?
Look, it is always going to be tough. I accept that. But I think having said that, even the people of Limpopo don't accept the fact that the president must live in a house like he does, in a garden. Well, they don't have houses. So you see, there's two problems here. We are not going to allow, people always say, oh, when the ANC stuffs up, then it benefits the DA. When the ANC stuffs up, it stuffs up the people of this country. So I'm battling to find the right way rather than stuff up. But it's true. So I can't come here and say, well, it makes sense that over 40% of the people are unemployed, as if that's something to say, well, if that's the case, well, they'll benefit the DA. No, it's wrong. That's how Africans don't work. The second challenge is, how then do we've got to be much strong. My job as leader of the DA, that's why this freedom, fairness, and opportunity to us is such a fundamental thing. Because I want to shift the organization away from us talking about the ANC to saying, this is what we're going to do. So if we took over Limpopo tomorrow morning, what economic program will we put in place? How do we ensure that, in fact, education is sorted out here, crime is sorted out here, that you don't deal with the issue of drugs that are here? How do we do that in an effective way? What would the DA government look like here? So that's going to be, for me, a key shift in tone, in language for the DA. So your question about, it's going to be tough, I don't doubt that it's going to be tough, but boy, when liberation movements fall, they don't fall in small steps, they fall in big steps. If you think about this, now this is maybe off the record, I don't know if you want to quote me. If you think about the National Party was some form of liberation movement. They fought the battle against the Brits and won and instituted their policy, which was apartheid. They've fallen quite quickly. If you think about it, in a short space of time, they are now the former government. The ANC, I'm not saying that the ANC and the Nats are the same thing, I'm not saying they're wrong. But I'm saying if you look at liberation movement, if you don't have a policy agenda that projects the future of the country, you can't just rely on history. You simply can't. We can't all be fighting about a better yesterday. It doesn't build anybody. So yeah, it's going to be tough, but it's a fight I'm up for. I was quite encouraged. I went to a by-election here. Maybe you went with me, I can't remember where it was. We had a fantastic by-election. We had great results there, I thought. Significant growth. It's a good thing.
And people just need a little bit of hope. That's what people, they just want you to give them a little bit of hope. Yes, tomorrow you might have running water. Yes, tomorrow you might have a good education. That's what, and especially in Limpopo, I think that's what most people do. They just want you to give them that little bit of hope to say, we see you, yes, we will look after you.
Absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, our challenge as South Africans in general is that we look at South Africa and we kind of think, yeah, well, we mustn't look at our neighbors and say, well, that's not what we're going to go. We have great potential. We have, of course, a challenge of leadership. I think the ANC has run out of ideas as to how to take South Africa forward. I really believe that. So the issue here is about how do we build that future for South Africa.
Last question. What would your message be to typically the old lady in Limpopo on the outskirts of Polokwane, living in a dilapidated RDP house, still holding on to that better life for all promised by them?
I'd say to her, there comes a point where it stops being about her. The most instructive thing is when I think about my own father. My father is much smarter than me. but less educated than me. He understood that when he fought apartheid, it was never for his benefit, it was for the benefit of his kids. That old lady must come to a point where she recognizes that she's still holding on to that hope, and maybe she may still feel she wants to, but it can no longer be about her. It must be about her grandkids. And my message to her would be about why we must all build a future for all South Africans that is inclusive, that looks at the future. And democracy. She instinctively, even poor people understand this. Everyone understands this. That the only way democracy succeeds is when power can be shifted from one person to another. We all in some way inherently know that if this product doesn't work, we must try another product. And I think we have a great opportunity here now to say to that same lady, there's a hope, there's a better tomorrow. If you want a better tomorrow for your kids, here's the party you should look at. And noting that I also understand her pain. Look, apartheid was an evil and a brutal system. Make no mistake, and for many, many South Africans, they lived through a very oppressive regime. So I don't sit here today and say, when somebody still votes for the ANC, if there are reasons for voting for the ANC, is that they recognize the fact that apartheid was such an evil thing, that's somewhat wrong. No, there was a bitter, painful history. But at the same time, we must recognize that the ANC's vision was fulfilled in 1994. That's why they are battling to articulate a vision for 2024. My job is to answer the question,